Chicago just put its thumb on the scale of the pass rush market. And if you're paying attention, you can feel the temperature rise across the league. This is Bears News Fan Report, your spot to get updated news and real rumors of our beloved team with clear analysis, no fluff, and the kind of detail that turns Sunday nerves into game plan clarity. And tonight I'm bringing you a clean briefing. Before we peel back the layers, I'm going to show you why the Bears have been tightening the screws on edge depth over the last 3 weeks. How league timing and cap realities intersect with a very specific AFC North situation. What the tape says about a certain former 5-star athlete's first steps, hand usage, and motor. How a Chicago offer would actually be built under current rules. And what this means for Caleb Williams, for the back seven, and for the kind of fourth quarter football Matt Eberflus wants to play in December. I'll keep the headline tucked for now because this isn't about a name. It's about profile, leverage, and a front office reading the room. Stay with me, because by the end you'll understand why the chatter has gone from curiosity to something closer to actionable. First, football before finance. The Bears' defense has spent too many second quarters bleeding 5-yard wins that turn into 12-play drives. When you study the explosive plays allowed, the pattern isn't about busted coverages as much as it is about time quarterbacks stepping and resetting. Hashes changing, windows opening late. That screams for another wave at edge, not to steal snaps from the main dog, but to pin protection in ways that make our stunts honest again. A true plus-get-off rusher reduces offensive choice. If the tackle oversets, you cross his face and squeeze. If he vertical sets, you rip and flatten. If he jumps you, you snatch clear and take the inside hip. Everything in the back end tightens when the front earns one half beat more of panic. Now, overlay that with schedule math. Chicago's stretch features rhythm quarterbacks who want to plan at 9 seconds and scan the boundary curls, plus 2 mobile passers who force edges to close space under control. That's a profile fit for a long-arm power-speed hybrid who can hit high hands on first contact, compress the pocket without losing contain, and finish on second effort when the coverage buys the extra step. That's the role on the board. And here's where the story heats up. Multiple team evaluators I trust have singled out an AFC North rookie whose raw counting stats are modest, but whose underlying rush metrics, first step win rate, hurry to hit conversion, and recovery speed after initial stalemate have flashed in territories that matter. He's a thick-framed, long-lever athlete with track-verified explosiveness out of high school, built to live in wide 9 and still fold down versus split zone without giving up the crease. He's also playing behind a banged-up veteran room, bouncing between packages, and living through the rookie wall that exposes every counter you don't yet own. That is exactly the type of profile a patient staff can steal for November and sculpt for January. Let's talk tape, not just resume. On outside zone boot, he closes the arc with square shoulders, no drift, so he arrives balanced. On true drop back, he'll go speed to power, and when the tackle anchors, he can long arm the outside pec and walk him back 3 steps. The hand timing isn't polished yet. He'll flash the cross jump, but the wrist sometimes dies on contact, but the bend is real enough to threaten the rip if you're late. Versus the run, he's better squeezing than spilling, which fits how Chicago uses the backside end. Compress, keep the hip clean, chase down the line with help arriving. The comp I've heard is a young, hungrier, heavier version of the classic sec edge who can be coached into a pro counter, and I get it on body and burst. The coach's tape says the motor survives the 3rd rep of a long drive, and that trait is non-negotiable in the NFC North in bad weather. Now breathe, because it's time to stop dancing and say the name. Yes, I'm talking about Sheamar Stewart, the Bengals' first rounder with the 5-star pedigree and the tools you can't fake. And here's the turn you came for. The Bears have quietly positioned themselves to pounce if Cincinnati opens even a crack of daylight around their edge rotation. Does that mean a trade is pinned to the league office this minute? No. It means the homework is done. The calls have rhythm and the value bands are mapped, so the decision can be made at full speed if the door swings. That's how adults do business. You don't pray in March. You prepare in November. Stewart's rookie stat line won't headline your feed, which is part of the opportunity. Edge development is non-linear because hand usage is a language, and the kid is learning the grammar on Sundays. What the numbers hide is the functional length, the inside counter that's closer than it looks. And the belonging factor, he doesn't look overwhelmed by NFL speed. He looks like he needs a workshop. Block to unlock sequence. Chicago can be that workshop, a room that demands effort, an HC who speaks defense as a first language, and a DC staff that has quietly turned young rushers into role winners by simplifying keys, cutting fluff, and insisting on finish. Let's get into the chess of acquisition. Because I know you care. Chicago's leverage lives in 3 levers: pick position, contract runway, and depth they can afford to move. A realistic package doesn't insult Cincinnati. It gives them a player who can play Sunday, a pick with clean language, not silly protections that never convey, and maybe a conditional that pays only if snap thresholds or playoff wins hit. You're not buying a finished product. You're buying time with traits that cost, but it shouldn't break the vault. Think day 2 pick territory with a late-round sweetener tied to performance escalator. The Bears can fashion that without emptying the pantry because the roster build already prioritized young, cheap contributors at multiple spots. And that's how you chase a premium position now. You pay in picks, not in cap paying. Fit with Caleb Williams matters more than you think. Because team identity is a loop of fence scores. Pass rush tees off, takeaways stack, short fields feed the offense, and the loop repeats. If you believe this team is a January team, you hunt a defensive playmaker who can snap a drive with 1 win. Stewart, in this staff's hands, projects as a situational menace by week 15 with real starter. Juice by 2026. You bring him in, spot him on money downs, and let the speed translate before you force the toolbox. Pair him opposite the anchor, run 4-man rush more often, and disguise pressure less to keep the back end fresh. If you get 5 drive-ending reps a game down the stretch, you paid the right price. Let me answer the pushback I can already hear. Why chase an unpolished rookie with the playoffs on the line? Because scarcity rules this league. True plus tools at Edge don't hit the market with years of control unless something is off in the relationship or the timeline, and smart teams buy the dip. Also, Chicago's defensive shell is better at covering for a rookie rusher's mistakes than for a JAG ceiling. If he loses a hand fight, your structure still funnels and rallies. If he wins, you flip field position without taking a safety out of the roof. It's a risk-managed bet. Another counter. Won't the price be bid up by half the conference? Maybe, which is why timing matters. You move before it becomes a supermarket. That's why I'm telling you the Bears have done the prep. 2 more layers before I bring you to the cliff. Injuries and rotation politics. The staff won't gamble recklessly on availability. They'll vet hamstring and soft tissue patterns to avoid a December pull. And they'll guard the room by making it clear that roles are earned. Veterans care about effort and assignment discipline. Stewart shows both on tape. And because I know you want the locker room, Reed, here it is: Chicago's veterans. Respect workers, not press releases. Stewart's story sells in that room because it's about sweat, not slogans. Now the part you've been waiting for, the reveal you might already feel in your ribs. The Sheamar Stewart to Chicago chatter is real enough to map, but it isn't a signed, sealed deal. It's a rumor with a spine, built on role fit, timing, and a front office that has the appetite and the assets to make the call. Which means this: if Cincinnati decides to snap economy and their own timeline makeup move sensible, the Bears are one of the few who can write a clean offer fast and integrate the player without chaos. If they don't move him, Chicago still wins the prep because you don't waste good scouting. You pivot those eyes to the next edge with similar traits, and you press your advantage when the calendar opens a slit. My concise read before I hand it to you. A Stewart swing is a smart, controllable bet on pass rush juice with playoff utility and multi-year upside. Calls should be meaningful but breathable. Immediate roll should be targeted money bounds, wide 9, stunt partner with a veteran, and 4 special team snaps max while he learns the coverage rules to ceiling. A closing 5 where he earns 2, high leverage reps in the 4th quarter, and forces 1 hurried throw a week. That's how you build January with November decisions. Now I want you in the huddle drop your take below. Do you send a day 2 pick plus a conditional for Stewart? Or do you hold the draft chips for a veteran rental with a higher floor? Which sub-package do you want him in: first NASCAR front on 3rd and long or early down spill, contained to test discipline? And who's your closing 4 in a 1-score game? Name them and tell me why. I'm reading. Everything because this community spots false choices and lazy packages from a mile away. If you ride with this level of detail, hit subscribe to Bears News Fan Report. Drop a like so the algorithm knows Soldier Field is wide awake, and turn on alerts. I'll be back the instant the phones get loud, the language tightens, or the rumor morphs into terms that matter.